Hey everybody, it's Macy here for our first monthly project. I'm super excited and I hope you all are as well. If you read Facebook, you probably could guess what our first project is because it is my favorite thing to make with my Cricut, and that is a t-shirt. So for those of you who are experienced, this is going to be really easy, probably stuff you've done 100 times, so don't worry. I have included some SVG and PNG files that you guys are more than welcome to use. For those of you who are new, this is a really great skill to learn as it's super useful and fun, and you can make pretty good money selling t-shirts. Those are my biggest selling item. So I'm going to make 3 different t-shirts for you guys, so we see 3 different, I guess, techniques in t-shirt making, you could say. The first t-shirt I'm going to make is just going to have a heat transfer vinyl with a word slice out of it. The second one is going to do printed heat transfer vinyl with a word sliced out of it because this is a little bit different technique. And then the third one, I'm going to show you how to layer vinyl. So I'm going to use printed heat transfer vinyl and then regular heat transfer vinyl layered on top of that. So I'll edit this video later and tell you what time frame you need to go to if you want to watch each of the different videos. But anyway, diving right in. You should have access to the images I'm going to use in this project. I'll post the link to those. You'll just go to January project and they'll be here. So the first thing I would do is scroll through these state SVG images and find the one you want to use. I live in Alabama, so I'm going to use that, but I've already saved it to my computer, so I'm not going to do that again. And then you can also go back and go to this home folder and find lettering that you like and that you want to put on your state. That's what our shirt's going to look like. It's going to be a state with the word home or this home sweet home image. Now these are all free SVG images. I did the hand lettering on these first 4. I tried to do a couple different variations, that way you guys could choose which one you liked better, and then I found this one online for free. So you guys are more than welcome to use any of these, and you can save them and continue to use them as you like. So now to the project. This is what your design space looks like when you first open it up. There's all your projects and a bunch of ads up here, which I'm not really worried about right now. To start a project, you're going to click on this big plus sign that is circled, entitled New Project. And then you're going to open this blank canvas looking space. So because we are doing a t-shirt, I like to use templates. To the left, you can see we have different icons for different categories in Cricut. The templates are pretty useful. I don't think some people like to use them, but I do, just so I can get an idea of what my design is going to look like. And that's exactly what templates do. They give you an idea of what your design looks like on a specific image that you might have in mind to put the design on. As you can see, there are tons of options for templates. So I'm going to scroll back up and use that classic t-shirt because I really like using that one. And like it says here, templates are for reference only. They're not going to be saved. So if you save your project and exit out of it, it's bedtime, you need to go to sleep or whatever, if you come back to it the next day, this template's not going to be there. So you're going to have to do that same thing, go back to templates, open it up, click on classic t-shirt and re-put it in if you want to see it. Another thing about templates to note is they have no bearing on the cut of your project. It literally just gives you an idea of what your design might look like on a t-shirt in this instance. So, getting started. The first shirt I'm going to make is that sliced home with the state outline shirt. So we need to upload our images. You're going to click on the left side bottom tab entitled Upload. Click Upload Image. I'm going to go browse. I've already uploaded these, but I would like to do it again. So I made a little tab or folder with our files for this month. So the first thing I'm going to do is upload the state SVG. I'm living in Alabama, so I'm obviously going to use Alabama. I like to title it that. You can title it whatever you want and put tags if you like so that you can more easily find it later. Save. And because that was an SVG or a vector image, I didn't have to edit that image at all. It's already prepared for a cut image. you'll see what uploading a PNG looks like later, or I guess now, when we insert the home. So to get the home, the lettering in there, we're going to do the same thing. Go to Upload Image, Browse, and then you're going to go to wherever you saved your lettering or the other text file. I'm going to use probably this one for now. So choose. And this is what I was talking about. This is a different image. So you can see it uploaded with the background because it's not a vector image. But thankfully, we can easily remove that background, which is something I really, really like about Cricut Design Space. So I'm going to use simple because these are high contrast colors and there's a transparent or monochrome background. And to remove that extra stuff that we don't want, that way we have a vector image that cuts really nicely, you literally just click on these gray spots. So anything you click on will be removed and will not cut out. And now you can see it's looking more like a vector image because we have that checkered flag background. So that looks good to me. I'm going to click continue. Period cut. Save it as a cut image. And click save. There we go. So now we have both of the things we're going to need for this project uploaded. I'm going to start by clicking on the state and inserting that into my project. So it's going to insert pretty tiny and up here in the small corner, but I obviously want it to be bigger because I want it to look aesthetically pleasing on my shirt. I usually make my projects as big as they will fit on the standard grip mat just because I prefer that look. So I'd go to width and do, I think it's 11. It might let you stretch it up to 11.5, but for this project I'm going to do 11. And I kind of just center it on the shirt, that way I'll have a good idea. So I'm going to zoom in just so I can see this a little bit better. You don't have to do this, obviously. Completely preferential. And then I'm also going to insert that lettering that we did by clicking on the image and then clicking Insert Images. Okay, so just to make this easier on me for right now, I'm going to change the color of the lettering, the word home, to white. You do that by coming over here, clicking beside the scissors icon on that black circle, and then clicking on white. Now I want this to be sliced out. That way that I'm cutting one image. I just want it to be Alabama with the word home cut out of it. So because I want that, I'm going to size it down, and then I'm going to slice it out, which is a really useful tool to know how to work with in Cricut Design Space. Something that I don't know if most people know, but I found really useful is Cricut will center these different shapes and images for you. So if you wanted this exactly in the middle, it's easier with a square. It's going to center it based off the bottom here and the top here and then the far sides, but I'll show you how to do that anyway in case you did have a more normal looking shape. You would just click on both images. So I'm clicking on one, and then I'm going to press Control or Command depending on which operating system you're using. Clicking on the other, and as you can see I have both images selected now. And then I'm going to go up here to the top and click Align, and then I can align it like I like. So if I wanted it horizontally centered, I would click on that center horizontally, and as you can see it moved it to where it's centered from this far edge to this far edge. It doesn't center it right here, which is kind of frustrating, but I mean, I guess, what can you expect? And then I'm also going to click center vertically just to show you guys. That'd be centered from here to here. I don't love the way that looks, so I'm going to kind of do my own thing on this design, maybe just move it over a little. Yeah, that looks good to me. I like that. Maybe move it up just a hair. Okay, so that's how I want my design. Play with yours until you get it where you want it. You can easily put it at the bottom, put it at the top, change it to the side, whatever you want. Okay, once you have the home on the state where and how you like, you're going to do what we did before to select both images. You're going to click on the home image, click on the state, or click Command or Control, and then click on the state image. Make sure both are highlighted, and then we're going to go down here to this fancy button called Slice. Slice is really nice because it cuts one shape out of another. I use Slice pretty much every project I make on Cricut. So we're going to click this button, and then, just to show you what happens, move that out of the way, and you can see it's cut that home word out of the original state image. I'm going to get rid of those because they bother me. Just to give you a better view, behind home you can see it's checkered, so that means it's just going to cut in one clean piece. What am I doing? Okay. So now we are pretty much ready to make that cut. That was super easy. I'm going to save it just so I don't lose it. Another thing to note before I click make, I really like to see what my projects are actually going to look like before I cut them out. One way that I do that, there's a ton of different ways you can do this, but I usually insert, I'm going to print this home image on a black t-shirt, and I bought some really pretty like rose gold heat transfer vinyl. By images and its shapes. But anyway, I bought some really pretty rose gold vinyl, and that's what I'm going to put on the black shirt. So I want to know what that's going to look like rather than black and white or pink and white. So I am just going to slip a black square behind this. I do this all the time. It's probably super dorky and unprofessional, but it gives me a better idea of what it looks like. So I just unlocked it, and then I'm going to send it to the back, and I'm going to change the color of it to black. Move that out of the way for a second. I'm copying this with Control V and then pasting with copying with Control C, pasting with Control V, and then I just turn these to look like a t-shirt. Copying and pasting that same one, and then I am flipping it so that now I have a little black t-shirt. That's so dorky, but it helps me a lot. And that's decently close to the color. So yeah, that's more resembles what my project's going to actually look like, and I like that. I'm very satisfied with that. So I'll get rid of those silly black squares. And now I'm ready to actually make it. It doesn't really matter what color you click on in Design Space for your cutout, because it's still going to print on whatever, or excuse me, not print, it's still going to cut on whatever vinyl you actually load into your Cricut device. So I could click green, it's still going to cut on that pink vinyl. I'm going to go back to pink just because I like it that way. So now that we are ready to cut, you're going to click the green Make It tab up here in the top right corner. It's going to sort. And now there is a very, very, very important step that I think a lot of beginners probably either forget about or don't realize, and it is this fancy mirror button right here. So I clicked info, that way you can read and see what it does. The reason you mirror it is because there's like a protective coating or tape, I don't know what you would call it really, on heat transfer vinyl that allows us to heat over. That way we don't actually melt the vinyl. You'll see that more when we get to ironing and pressing. But so I'm going to click on mirror. It's going to flip it. It's going to look all wonky and backwards, but that is good because that means we're ready to go. Okay, so now we get to do the really fun stuff, and that's actually making the cut. First things first, you'll notice I'm not working with an appropriate crafting space right now. That's because we just moved across the country and bought a new house, and we don't have anything yet, and we're in the middle of a lot of renovations. So I'm using a fold-out table in my little dinette, kitchen, eat-in area for now. Hopefully you guys get to witness that change. But it is time to actually use our Cricut, and here is my machine, which I love very dearly. Obviously, first things first, we're going to turn it on. Hear that rumbling noise as it awakens. And then come over here and press open. And it'll slowly open up for you. Before I do anything, I am going to keep two of my tools in here, the scraper and the weeder, which are my two most commonly used tools. I'm going to set those out, that way it doesn't start cutting, and I have left those in there because that happens a lot. Okay, as I was saying, we're to the fun part where we can actually make the cut. So you are going to click continue, and then Bluetooth is the easiest. You can also connect manually with the, I can't remember if it comes with that cord. If it did, I lost it, but it's the same wire that you would use to connect a printer to your computer via USB. So it's connected. Material is currently set to paper. That is wrong. So we need to switch material to vinyl just by turning, or not vinyl, to iron-on just by turning that knob, and now it's set to iron-on. It'll remind you right here with that little hazard button to turn on mirror. This is another good time to make sure that mirror is on. I am literally so OCD about that, so I double, triple, quadruple check as much as I can. Now, the next thing we're going to do is load our vinyl. Okay, to load our vinyl, I like to not waste as little vinyl as possible, especially this heat transfer vinyl, because I make so many shirts and I use it all the time. So to know exactly what size of vinyl I'm going to need, I just scroll over here and look, and I am going to cut out, it looks by, to be on the safe side, I'm just going to do an 8 by 12. That'll give me some breathing room on all the edges and leave me some extra, that way I don't have to waste. This next part is also very important. That's loading the mat. So I just bought a new mat. I'm super excited. It's so fresh and new and clean. My other one was gross and I had messed up with the markers 100 times and it had black lines all over, so this is heaven. But to load the mat, you're obviously going to take the cover off, and I highly recommend keeping this plastic sheet, and covering it every single time you're done. That's what I do, and that'll keep your mat nice and clean for the most part. So, as you can see with this heat transfer vinyl, there are two sides. There's this matte side, and there's this super shiny side. We are going to put the super shiny, pretty side face down on the mat in that upper left corner. This is what you're supposed to do with heat transfer vinyl, because that's the side that's going to be up on the shirt. So I'm going to try to get that as nice and straight as I can. I did not do a very good job, but it'll do. And then I always use my scraper to flatten out any bubbles. Not technically what it's for, but I use it this way more than I do its actual purpose. So I'm just flattening, making sure my vinyl is really nicely adhered to it. There's no bubbles or weird crevices. And then that is. Okay, so we're now ready to load our mat. And I'm not going to do a screen recording just because it's easier to actually show you guys. So I apologize for the quality of that right now. But as you can see on the computer, it indicates that we're ready to load, and the machine is indicating that we're ready to load as well by that flashing arrow. And then our mat is nice and flat, and the vinyl is shiny side down. Mirror is on, so we are good to go. So you take the mat and you're going to insert it over here under these clips. It's very important, otherwise it's going to cut so messy and gross. And then slide it up. I'm doing this one-handed because my regular camera did not want to cooperate. I'm using my iPhone. Up to those rollers. Once you get it up to those rollers, you're going to come over here and press the flashing load and unload button. Mine did not load very well, so I'm going to press it again to unload it. If it doesn't scoot your mat back at all, like mine just didn't do the same thing I did, unload it and then try again. Sometimes you just got to really snag it in there under those rollers. And then press it again. There we go. So you can see it moved a little. And we are ready to cut. Our computer indicates that we are ready to cut, as well as the Cricut machine does. The next thing to do, as mentioned here, is to press the flashing Cricut button. Here. Should tell you it's cutting on the computer, and then it should start to cut on your machine as well. Okay, Okay, once the cut is done, we will know because the load unload button will again be flashing and our computer will tell us it's 100% done and that we need to unload the mat. So you're gonna go over here, unload the mat, and just pull it out. And then just for completion's sake, I'm going to click finish. That way my button stops blinking and it will take us back to that original canvas. Okay, now it's time to weed. I find weeding to be super satisfying, but I know a lot of people kind of hate it. My husband included. We both used to be active duty Air Force, and he made vinyl decals for aircraft, and I know he does not enjoy it. So we want to take off everything that was not on that original design on the computer. Every single thing. The only thing we should have left is what is going on the shirt. So this outside piece, I don't know if you can really see the cut lines at all, kind of. This outside piece around the state of Alabama, that's all waste. We don't need that. So I'm gonna start by doing that. I'm gonna go up in a corner and just see if I can free any of that protective coating, and I did. And then I'm gonna pull. Keep pulling, and because your Cricut is awesome and cut for you, you should be able to pull all the way around without lifting any of your actual design off of the mat. It's a very weirdly shaped Alabama. Whoops. So you can see I have my state, and now I just need to weed out that home part, which I think we can kind of see in the middle. So that is what I'm going to actually use my weeding tool for. I'm going to start over here where I can see that the word or the lettering starts at the back of the H, and I'm just going to stab it. I find that to be most effective, and then pull kind of delicately to see if it'll come off on one piece. These lines are so thin, I apologize. So there's the word home, and then we still have that period because I think I used the period when I did. And I'm gonna do the same thing with that little piece. Okay, and then you can see this is what it's going to look like on your mat. If you like, you can take it off the mat now. This mat is brand new and so sticky, I love it. Just by pulling that plastic piece, ripping off, and at this point, you should have something that looks like this, which is what will be going on your shirt. I think for this one, just to show you guys who don't have the easy press with a regular heat press, I'm going to use the iron. But you can, if you have an easy press, you probably know how to use it. So you can use that just as easy. If you don't have a mat, a folded in half bath towel works really nicely to protect the heat or protect your table, desk, countertop, whatever from heat. So that's what I'm going to use. And then I'm going to pull out my shirt. For this design, I'm just doing plain black t-shirt. I think I got this for like $4 at Hobby Lobby. It's long sleeve, which is nice. And it's Gildan brand. I really like Gildan's t-shirts, especially their more thin ones that Hobby Lobby has. But for this, I wanted long sleeve, so that's what I grabbed. So I'm gonna lay it out nice and flat. As flat as I can get it anyway. And then to make it even flatter, which is what's really nice about using an iron, is I'm going to actually iron it. My iron is, so there's a couple different recommendations out there. When I was first learning, I was told to use the hottest setting on the iron, which is the cotton setting, obviously without the whatever you call that, the misting feature. But I have learned that with Sicer heat transfer vinyl, which is the vinyl I'm using on the shirt, you don't need the absolute hottest setting. You can do one notch down, which has worked better for me in the past. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm willing to bet that it probably differs on all irons. I have a really cheap, like $14 iron from Walmart. But if you have a really nice, neat one, there's probably a great setting for it. So right now I just flattened out my shirt. That way I can get a good idea of where my design's gonna go. And to center, you can use the old dichromator. You can use one of those centering t-shirt devices. I don't know, I saw it on one of my Cricut groups here recently. I use measuring tape, fabric measuring tape, and find it works pretty nicely. So another thing that I didn't mention while I was ironing, what that also serves to do is to preheat the fabric, which is super important, and it'll make your vinyl better adhere to the fabric. So even if you aren't using an iron or it's already flat enough, you don't care, run that iron over it just to at least preheat where that vinyl is going to go on. I promise that extra 30 seconds is going to be worth it in the long run. Okay, so this is probably not a super, I'm used to a little bit better space, a super awesome way to get it centered, but I just run a line down the middle. Gives me a decent idea of where this needs to go. Luckily, because it's not a straight image, if it isn't perfect, we're not going to be able to tell because the state of Alabama is kind of crooked anyway. And then I use my eyes kind of to guess where it goes side to sidewise. Flatten it down a little. And then I also use this to measure to see how far off I am and if I do need to move it. So on this side, I'm at about 6 inches. And on this side, I'm at about 5 3/4. I'm gonna leave it that way because it's really heavy on this side anyway, and it kind of looks more natural. So let me just make sure I am okay with that. Actually, yeah, I am gonna move it over just a hair. Flatten it again, excuse me. So this is what we have right now. It's simply stuck. I haven't ironed yet. It's just in a good spot and I'm happy with the location on the shirt. Okay. So the next part is actually ironing on our design. And I haven't used the iron in a while, so I'm not super excited about it, especially knowing that my easy press is sitting there. But it really isn't that much more difficult and you get a better handle on where everything's going and you can kind of see it better, so it's not terrible. I was told to do 30 seconds. I found with the iron I need a little bit more than 30 seconds. The first thing I do though is I run over the entire design. It needs to be turned down way more. Just to make sure it is sticking, at least somewhat. And then I'm gonna go over and do different parts. So I'm gonna start up here and do a little bit of pressure for a couple seconds. And then I'm doing the same thing in different spots, about 40, well, I guess it is more close to 30 seconds, about 30 seconds in each of the major areas, that way it adheres really nicely. You'll know if it's working if you can start to see the fibers through the vinyl. That's how you know it's sticking really nicely. So once you are done ironing the front, a really good thing to do is to turn it over and do the exact same thing to the back just for a couple seconds, and that'll help it stick just a little bit better. So usually on this part I don't like do the individual presses for 30 seconds when I use the iron, I just kind of go over it. once you are done ironing, it should look like this. You should be able to see those shirt fibers through it, which I can. I'm happy with that. The next thing to do is to peel off this sheet. And that peeled off really nicely, which is a good indicator that our vinyl is pretty stuck. So it looks like I overheated my vinyl a little, which is why all those little bubbles and stuff are in there. I'm okay with that. If you want a more perfect product, just turn the heat down on your iron. Before I consider this project really done, I usually just do a fingernail test on the corners. I just kind of pick at it and see if it comes up super easy, not too hard. And it looks like nothing's really coming up, so that is a good thing. So here is my completed January project. I hope you guys found it easy to follow along. If not, just let me know what would make it easier or better for you guys. Definitely give it a shot. If you have any problems along the way, let me know and post your version in the comment section below. Hey guys, so now I'm going to do the second part of this month's project, which is the same t-shirt, same design and everything. The only difference this time is I'm going to show you how to do it on printed heat transfer vinyl, just because it's a little bit different technique when it comes to actually applying the decal to the shirt. So I'm going to click on the same project we just did, and I'm going to click Customize. By the way, if you ever want to make the same project again, all you'd have to do is click Make It, and that cut screen will come up. If you want to mess around with it a little bit before you make it, or make it a similar project, just click Customize like we're doing here. So I was just clicking that to show you guys. I'm actually going to use the exact same thing. I'm not going to edit it really at all. So I'm going to go ahead and click Make It. It's going to sort my mat onto color. Now, the difference, one of the major differences of printed vinyl lies right here. For this type of heat transfer vinyl, we don't want to mirror the image. And I will show you guys why once we get there. So I'm not going to click mirror. I'm going to leave it just like that. Okay, so now I'm going to, I just made a cut. I didn't show you guys. I used my little Cricut cutting machine just to cut out the appropriate size vinyl. And now I'm going to show you how to apply that to the mat, because again, it's not the same as regular heat transfer vinyl. So applying this to the mat, usually with regular heat transfer vinyl, we like to apply the shiny side down. This time we're going to apply the printed side facing you. So that's going to be left up, just like if you were using regular vinyl. I don't know why I was using my mat upside down. Not that it matters, but I like it this way. So you just apply corner to corner like normal. Make sure if your printed heat transfer vinyl is like mine and it has this little white area on the side, make sure that you account for that. Jesus, this mat is so sticky. I'm just gonna leave it. Okay. Make sure that you account for that when you're cutting the vinyl that you need, and also when you put it on the mat. Otherwise, you are not gonna like the end result. Okay, and now my mat is ready to be inserted into my machine. Okay, so just like before, once we get the vinyl on our mat, we are ready to go ahead and load it up and make the cut. So I'm going to click continue, again making sure that I do not have mirror turned on this time. And it is going to find my device. And then for this time, the material, I'm going to set it to Iron-On Plus, because the type of printed heat transfer vinyl that I'm working with is pretty thick and it's hard to cut through, so I like to just turn it up a notch. You'll learn if you need to do that or not. I would recommend doing it at least the first time, especially if it feels thicker than regular heat transfer vinyl to you. Then I'm going to go ahead and again load it. Press my things up to the rollers. And once we are loaded and the machine and our computer indicates that it is time to cut, we are going to go ahead and press the flashing Cricut button. And of course, it is going to start cutting for us. Again, we know it's done because my Cricut is telling me it's done, it's demanding I unload it, and the computer tells me it's time to unload. So I'm going to go ahead and press unload, and then for completion, I like to click finish. Okay, again, we have made our cut, so this time I'm just going to take off. It's just like with regular heat transfer vinyl on this part. You just want to take off the top side, not the bottom plastic sheet. So I'm just peeling that off, and it peels off so nicely. And then I'm going to go ahead and weed just like before. Sorry guys, I just got to see where my lines are. And then the period, which has given me trouble both times. And that is my weeded image. So the next thing that's a little different about printed vinyl is I'm going to use a heat transfer vinyl transfer tape, which looks like this. I got it at my local craft store. They're really nice. It was super cheap, like $2 for a sheet that was twice this size, and they are reusable. So highly recommend these. I have used regular transfer tape for these before and then put a Teflon sheet over it to protect the vinyl while ironing, and that did work. However, getting it off the transfer tape was so difficult, so I don't recommend that unless you have a high amount of patience. So these, like I said, these are really nice, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm just going to peel the backing off and then apply it to my design and use my scraper to smooth it down really good. That way it binds to the vinyl really nicely. Okay, hopefully that is good. So we're ripping this off, just like when you're doing a regular vinyl decal. There we have it. Okay, so for this part of the project, I am using a mint colored Comfort Colors t-shirt. I really like the look and feel of these. They're just dyed t-shirts. They're super popular in the South, and this is literally Comfort Colors. So I love working with these, and they sell pretty well too. They're just a little more pricey. And for some reason, I have a little bit harder time getting vinyl to stick on these. So if you'd like to use these, just a warning for that. It might just be me, not sure. I am going to use my Easy Press on this project, but my shirt is pretty wrinkly, so I'm just going to do a quick iron of the shirt, just so I can better see everything, kind of know what I'm working with, make sure everything's a little more centered and placed the way I'd like it to be placed. Okay. now I'm going to actually use my easy press. If you don't have an easy press, you can kind of tune out for this part and just go back to that first video, because from here on out it's the same as the regular heat transfer vinyl. So I'm putting my easy press mat down, and I am trying to get it in a good location where my actual design is going to be. Center it as best I can. And then I preheat, just like before, kind of like what I was doing with the iron, but I like to do it with the press just so that that flat surface is for sure as smooth and wrinkle-free as it can be, and that my shirt is ready to take on the vinyl. I think you're supposed to preheat for just 10 or 15 seconds. I'm just going to go ahead and do a full 30 because that's what I have my press set for. Okay, now that my shirt has been preheated, I am ready to determine where the design is going to be and try to get it as centered as possible. So I always, whenever I make a design on the shirt, I should have said this before, I usually try to go, hold up the other shirt I made, I try to go about 4 inches from the bottom of the collar. I think that's aesthetic, and when I was first learning, I read that on Pinterest somewhere, so you can take that as a fact or not. But I read that that's where most t-shirt designs start. Now I move it an inch or so for every time I go a size up on a shirt, but it really just depends. I don't typically follow super strict rules like that. I kind of just go with the design or whatever looks most aesthetically pleasing to me on each shirt that I make. So the way I center, like I said before, I just use this fabric measuring tape and get me a nice straight line down the center of the shirt. And then just as I said before, the state I'm working with is actually a little crooked on a map. So I'm not going to worry super duper hard about getting this perfectly straight because I left it crooked on that one on purpose and I liked the way it looked. So I am going to do it a little bit crooked. And just like before, I'm going to measure and see if I'm happy with how that is centered. And I'm at 6 inches on both sides, so I'm happy with that. My stake is a little bit crooked, but I still like it. And I'm leaving that, I don't know if I emphasized this enough on the first part of the video, but I'm leaving that plastic sheet on. Make sure you leave that on when you go ahead and iron or press. So my press I have set for 305 degrees and 30 seconds. That has worked really well for me and on the printed vinyl. And that was what was recommended by the company of the vinyl I'm using. So look up their recommendations and do exactly what they say, basically. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my press. It is not big enough to cover the entire design, so I'm gonna have to do half at a time. So I'm setting it on the top half. I'm pressing the cricket or the go button, applying medium pressure. And then when that part, the top half is done, I'm moving it to the bottom and just doing the same thing down there because my press does not cover the full size of the image I've made. Okay, and just like for normal shirts, you're gonna take it and flip it over and press the back as well. Okay, and when it's done, it'll of course beep and let me know. And I'm just gonna flip the shirt back over and give you guys another view. Okay, so again, once I'm done ironing, this is what my final product looks like. I have never been able to see the shirt fibers as well through the printed vinyl, but if you look really closely, they are there. There is texture, so I'm happy with that. I am pleased. If you're not pleased, go ahead and iron some more, depending on what your result is. but you definitely do want to be able to see fibers through. That's a good indication, like I said before, that it is stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off this transfer tape. And I didn't mention this, but usually for this transfer tape, I don't peel off as soon as I finish. I don't necessarily do a cold peel, but I do like a lukewarm, medium temperature peel. Okay, and that's where we're at for this shirt. Again, I'm just going to do that fingernail test in the corners. And I am happy with that. Okay, there we have it, another home shirt, this time using printed vinyl. So again, if you try this one out, please, please, please post your results in the comments below. Okay, for the third part of this project, I am going to do printed vinyl as the very back state image and then regular heat transfer vinyl layered on top of that. So kind of mixing both techniques, but I just wanted to add a third variation of ways you could do this. Plus, it's useful to know that you can layer heat transfer vinyl and it's really not that difficult at all. So all I've done so far is insert both the state and the home lettering just like before. You'll notice I'm using a different state. That's because I can only wear so many of these t-shirts and my sister lives in Illinois, so I thought I'd make her one. So I've put them on templates. I sized my state. Again, I like the length to be 11. I like to make my stuff as big as I can on the standard grip mat. For the home lettering, I sized it down to where it would fit nicely in here. Get it about where I want it. Like I said, I like to click on the home, click command, click on the state, just so that I can see where it would be centered. Even if I don't like where this is, it gives me a good idea of where the center actually is. That way I don't go too far from it, but at least to a place where I think it looks more aesthetic. Some images sometimes, kind of like this one, they're very top heavy and a little bit more narrow at the bottom. So I think it looks fine to move it up a little. If you don't, you definitely don't have to. You can leave it perfectly centered. Okay, here I am happy with that. So this time, instead of slicing, we are going to leave it exactly like this because there are going to be two different cuts on two different sheets of vinyl. The first one is going to be that, well, I don't know actually which one it's going to decide to do first, but the state is going to be on that printed heat transfer vinyl, and then the lettering is just going to be on regular heat transfer vinyl. So we're leaving them two different colors, that way the machine knows to print them off on two different mats. So I'm going to go ahead and click Make It. And it has sorted our mats by color, of course. On the first one, just like the first part of this project, we need to mirror that one. The second one, we do not need to mirror. Do not mirror that one. After we have mirrored, we are ready to continue, find our machine, and cut. Okay, so now that we have both of our images cut out and weeded, these are what each of them should look like. I'm going to do just what I did before. For both shirts, this time, since I've introduced every other shirt, I'm using another white Gildan brand short sleeve t-shirt. Keep the variety a little bit. So just like before, I'm just going to do a quick iron to get some of those more obvious big wrinkles out. Again, this also serves to preheat the material. I am going to use my Easy Press again for this project, but an iron works just as well.